Good afternoon. Welcome to another weekend edition of OptionsTender. Welcome, traders. We're going to go through SPX, all of the other major indices on higher time frames, the monthly, the weekly. We'll check out why I think this week is going to be a rip your face off rally. We'll go through the options expected move on SPX, the upper, lower end, and then we'll talk about the different structure scenarios that we could be in. I added since last week our primary, secondary wave counts, and this is what we're looking for in the short term, and then our alternate scenario of what I think most other traders are looking at. And then make sure you stick around because we're going to compare it to 2008. Okay. I think there's a really good comparison of what's happening. It looks almost identical at this time. And so it can give you a perspective. If price does do this, then you can react in this way. That is the trader's way. Okay. We have to react to price. We don't control the market controls us. Okay, so we're doing this on the weekend. We do the larger picture. And if you're new here, first of all, please go down to the bottom right-hand corner. You see that OptionsTender logo? Hit that and subscribe. And don't forget to like the video. It really helps this channel out. It's a free way to help this channel continue to grow. All right. And during the week, Monday through Friday, we go through the lower time frame. So you can check out yesterday if you want to see what's happening on the 65 and really get down to details with indicators. All right. And don't forget to play this at 1.25 or 1.5 speed so you can get all this information in the video. And I'm sure you have other videos that you need to watch. And so play them much faster, get all this information that you can in a quicker amount of time. Okay, let's jump into it. We have SPX on the monthly time frame. Now, let me close this board here. We bring this up often because this is where we are. We're just getting started. We have the 1929 top, 2000 top, and we're at the 2025 top. All right, that is in confluence with the 2008 top. You see those 4 different points there, and that's what we're going to talk about later. Do we make a new high or do we make a lower high? That's in conjunction with the 2021 top, and wow, it just works out perfectly with the 2025 top. That's beautiful. Okay, let's go over to SPY, and then we'll go through some indicators, and then we'll start going around the horn. On SPY, we don't have the information all the way back to 1929, so we're going to go from 2008 up here. And look at this candle. We're still in the month of March, okay? We're breaking down from this consolidation area. We kept pushing and pushing up against those historical trend lines. We're starting to break down. And what I think is going to happen with this rally is this monthly candle going into the end of March. We're probably going to see more of a doji type candle, and we're going to go back into this range, or at least test the range. So it starts off at about 578, and depending on how deep it goes, and I suspect it could even reach 600. I think it's possible because of the bear narrative is just so extreme right now that I think this has to play out to the upside, and we'll probably get a deep retracement and even maybe a new high. I know that sounds crazy. Now, what are you talking about? We'll go through it. Okay. Now, looking at some of these moving averages, we're breaking down from this 8 EMA, but what I suspect is just like these other candles, we're going to hold on to that 8 EMA. We're going to close the candle out, some sort of doji. You're going to have some bulls coming in, and this is going to turn around and break down from that doji type candle. Much more, I suppose, like this. Like you have this dragonfly doji here, and then you break down from it. All right, so our next test will be this 20-month moving average. That brings us right into this consolidation area, which held once before. And so that brings us into that 525 area. So we'll talk about that as price gets there, but we have a full range there from 500 to 525 on the monthly time frame. All right, let's check out the D mark. Let's see if anything's happening here. So we'll check this often. We're not going to get a whole bunch of signals in between. Clearly, we're just getting a 1 count here. All right, but we just want to keep checking it every once in a while to see if there's any setups, see what everything brings us. Okay, and here's our OptionsTender setup. We have our MACD, RSI, and our slow stoke. So going through these one by one, we have the MACD. Don't quite have our crossover yet, and that's going to help fuel the bounce here because technically we're in bullish territory and we're just back testing the 0 line. So that's another check mark to say, hey, we're probably going to hold on to that 8 EMA. We're probably not going to close underneath it yet. And you see this trend line here from the RSI. We have negative divergence going back quite a long time. And in the near term, we made another, and we're breaking down that trend. Now, all I think we're doing is just bouncing, okay? Whether we make a new high or not, if we do, all we're going to do is back test this trend line with a lower high, another divergent signal. We have our sell signal here, okay? We have our early sell signal on the slow stochastic. That is also another check mark for the bears in the long run. This is such a high time frame. It takes a lot of time for this to play out. So that's why we do this each week to see, what information we can get out of it. So we have the same trend line, just like the RSI there. All right, our McClellan summation. You know what? We're saving that for the daily time frame. Let's go to the Qs. Let's go around the horn. Okay, here we'll give you visuals of what's happening here. So you see we're fighting with this this trend here from 2021, and price seems to be obeying it a little bit and trading around it. So I do suspect that we hold on to this for now. Like I said, we'll probably have a doji in here, and then we'll break down afterwards. And then we have this nice pivot from the lows there, 2021, and that gave us our high. All right, so we'll probably close up here, retest this range, and then break down after. SMH. We have another point of view. Now, we're still in this large range here. I mean, we could look on the quarterly as well. But looking at this month here, we're really just in the same choppy range. Insane. And so there's a lower time frame range here. And I think what we're doing is back testing back into that range to see if price discovers up there, if it holds. I don't think it will. I think we drop afterwards. IWM. Now with IWM, we had this midline of the channel. If you could draw a fork here, you could do multiple things. We had this price action here. You see a lot of time spent over there, broke down from it and create a large range here. We're back to that range. Okay, we're holding on to that range. We back tested it again on the lower time frames. And so I think we're starting to get our bounce now. And I don't know. I think we're able to, just like Microsoft, we're able to start counting this as a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, more like a diagonal. I'm not going to call it a leading diagonal, but I think we can fit in a 5-wave move here. And we're looking for now a bounce. And it's a perfect spot for that bounce. Okay, now it seems really obvious with this bearish rising wedge that we're holding on to that trend line. Right now, just for the moment, we're getting a bounce. And again, just like the other indices, we have a consolidation area. And if you draw a little trend in there, we're just back testing the breakdown. And again, I think this will fail. And ultimately, we'll test this over the years. We'll test this trend line below. VIX. VIX here, I have the phases, the cycles, market cycles for individual members, but on the VIX here, I don't have a separate board for it. So you can see here, this is not my work. This is Slim, Ask Slim. So this was made public. So I was able to put this on here, and we're in the rising phase. That's all I'm going to say about that. I'm not going to describe what's happening there, but the VIX is in a process of basically moving up. All right, I think we have our low in. We're holding on to trend lines. We're tightening in this phase here, and I think ultimately we'll actually break above, believe it or not, I think we'll break above this tightening consolidation equilibrium on this higher time frame. Okay, going back to SPY. Let's go down to the weekly. On the weekly, you can see when I'm still on this monthly, we have a VPOC way down at 208. Do we make it down there? I think eventually, but I'm not sure it's going to be in this phase, if I will, of this phase. I think there's going to be a couple bear markets in a row, maybe even similar to 2000 and 2008. So on the weekly time frame, bearish rising wedge broke down from it. Beautiful on the weekly, looks smooth as can be. How could you get chopped out of this? Well, it was a tough trade to the downside. But now that we have this resolution, we made it down to this breakout zone, super important. So it's clean here in SPY. And you can see we held on to that. I know there's a large wick, so everybody was getting scared. Where's this going to end? Well, it ended now, and we're holding on to that that very important level. Let's call it 560. We're holding on to 560 strong, even though we had the inside week, which contraction leads to expansion. So we're gonna have a large move after this, and I believe that's going to be up. So if you're a bull, we shouldn't see under 560. At least a close under 560. Wicks can happen all the time. So maybe we wick back down and then jet up there. But for now, it's a fake break. We're holding on to it. It looks beautiful. And then I think we start our ascent to the upside. Changing boards a bit. On the weekly, we can see some time and price. Okay, so we had our correction from 2021 into 2022, and we have some targets that were made after price broke out from the former all-time highs. And so you have your 127.2, you have your 162%, and you have your 200% retracements or extensions from that correction. You can see how important they are. We broke down from here, retested, made it all the way up and almost in a straight line to the 62, which at the time was our final target. Broke down, held on to that 127, and this is going to play an important role. So that 515, 516 zone is going to play an important role on the way down as well. Just like we're right here at that former 162, we broke out from there, a huge breakout. Momentum was lost at that point, made a new high all the way up at the 200% at 612, and then broke down quickly right back to that level, not too dissimilar from here, level to level. And so now I think we're going to get our bounce, and we have our beginning of our cluster here at 411, at April 11th. So we'll see what price starts to do when we get into these levels. My guess is that on the lower time frames, we talked about the different areas, clusters of where we can make a top Okay, so this is just a guess. We have to see where price is going into these clusters. But on the daily time frame, I think we're going to get a high in the beginning of April. And now looking at the weekly time frame, I think we'll make a low going into this phase here, which can bring us all the way to the beginning of May. All right, this is a large window. This is almost a full month window. Okay, so we'll see where price is getting into here, into all the way up to the end of May. I think we'll probably make it down to some of these prices or even lower. Okay, and then we should, if we break down from this very important area at that point, if we break it down to these lows, for example, then I think we'll probably backtest for wave 4 and then continue down to wave 5 into our next level. Okay, so I expect a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave move. Let's see if we can, anything else on the weekly? All right, let's continue. Let's go over to the Qs. Go through these quickly. Weekly time frame, bearish rising wedge, broke down from it. I think we're just going to backtest and we continue to our next levels. This one's not going to hold. I'll tell you that now. 450. I think we make it all the way down here to around 400 next after the bounce. SMH. SMH weekly time frame. Look at that bearish rising wedge. I think we break up. And after the bounce, I think we're going to continue to go lower. This could end up being, this looks like a good support here. So we'll see how this ends up. Is this going to be a 1, 2, 3, a wave 4, and then we get a 5 down lower, and then we get a bounce? We'll have to see. But I think that we can count 5 waves in here. We'll get a fairly shallow bounce, maybe into some downtrend resistance, and then we'll start our descent lower, where this probably won't even hold at that time. You might even be able to say this is some sort of head and shoulder. Not pretty, but left shoulder, head, right shoulder, and maybe we have a neckline somewhere in there. I know it's not even, but we'll continue to monitor this. If we break down from 197, 198, then our next large level here is at 160. So there's not really much in between. Okay, I think that's more the likely situation. If price is going to break down pretty hard, then I think this is where it's going to be headed. IWM. On the weekly time frame, had this consolidation in the past here, so that, you know, played a role in price action here. And you saw that we had a fake break, made it to the top levels here, double top, and now broke down, held on to a trend, back tested. It's a very important level, and we broke down from this next level here. But we have a lot of volume, and then we have this huge consolidation area. And so I do think we're going to trade around this. A lot of times when you have big support resistance, you end up trading around it and creating a volume node. So I do think we bounce higher. We don't make it very far into it, and we start to break back down, whether we consolidate for a while around it, or we just continue to head lower into maybe the mid-range, or even down to the former highs way back when in 2018 and 2020. Okay, so that's going to be our next major support if this really starts to get ugly. DIA on the weekly. You have your trend line here. I do think we're tagging that right now. I know it's not perfect with the lows here. It never is. Okay, and I think after that we have a possible channel bottom here, but again, it depends how this plays out. 1, 2, 3. Are we getting a leading diagonal, a wave 4 back in here, and then we come on down to wave 5? It's possible, and then we hold this, back test that trend line, that could be, because I consider DIA it plays its own game. Okay, it does rhyme with the market, but it's like a counterbalance for me. So it's not going to be pretty what happens with it. This isn't, a pretty 1-2 setup here. We'll see how this plays out. If the market is much stronger, is this a 1-2, 1-2, and then 3, wave 4, and then 5 up here? That's what we're going to discuss on this next time frame. So is DIA just going to go off the wall and crazy? It has in the past. It's led the market up before, and even SPY can make a lower high. But if this, that's a huge move. We'll see what happens throughout this next bounce here. But I have to lay that out just in case, and I'll show you as soon as we go down to the next time frame. On the weekly, we have this bullish falling wedge, broke out from it, back tested. We're in somewhat of a consolidation area, and I do think this continues to break down lower, and I think we might even head all the way down to I said on the lower time frame 16, 15, but that range goes all the way down to 14. Now, I'm not so sure that it's going to break down all the way to the bottom of the range. We do have a trend line that we can start here on the weekly time frame, and so maybe we hold on to an uptrend, and heck, that might, if we go straight down, that might bring us there. But here's our uptrend. We'll continue to monitor this. We have broken out from this wedge here, and I do think this will resolve much higher than this over time. All right, much higher than 65. I think we go to 180, 200 in VIX. I know it sounds crazy, but I think it's happening. Okay, so let's give ourselves a second here to look at SPY, and then we'll go to the comparison. I'll go to 2008. Let's look at our regular stuff. Let's go to 2000. Let's just do a few things on the daily time frame real quick. Time price. Here's our retracements. 62% retracements, our golden retracement here. Our cluster starts here at 3 at the end of March to the beginning of April. That's where we'll look for a high. Okay, if price continues to get above 62% retracement, then we're looking for 600. So in that time frame. All right, it's as simple as that. I don't want to go through too many things here on the daily time frame. Here's our map. This is what I think is happening. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. All right, I think this is going to be a 5-wave move just to get us started with our recession. Then we have a huge bounce after that, and then lower. Okay, so let's bring this out. Let's put on the traditional board. Now let's give ourselves a maximum time frame so I can go back. 2008 is fine, 20 years. Now here's what I want to talk about in this comparison, and then we'll go into SPX to kind of close this out here. And if you want more information on the daily and the 65, just go to yesterday's video. I'll punch it right above there right now. And then here's our 2008 look. Now what's interesting about this is that this looks almost identical to what just happened, where we had our all-time high and then we broke down, and this is where we are now. Now, first of all, I want to show up this consolidation that's happened, this bottom that's happening right now that I'm calling out, has been 10 days in the same range. That's not usual, okay? You have bottoms. Bottoms are events. It's very typical. Events. You know, you got an inside day, sure. They're all events, okay? It's very unusual for the bottom to be a 10-day consolidation. So they got us there. They got us. It's all good. We're going to see it to continue to go higher. And anyway, let's get back to this. So here we are now. If the top is in, then we're here. And we're looking for wave 1, which is very, very typical look. That was actually a leading diagonal. It's a pretty little wedge there. And then we had a bounce into just above the 62% retracement. Now, it looks like we're getting above on the daily, but in the weekly, we just had a spike through. Okay, so you have to look on all time frames. And then we reversed off of the 62% retracement and started our next cycle down. So that's where I think we're at now. And that's what I think is going to happen after we had this kind of consolidation here, that we start to rip to the upside with maybe a pause in between. And I think it might be a little bit more of a rip than typical, where you had a pause for 3 days here. I don't think that's really going to happen. I think we go pretty much straight there with maybe a 1 doji in between. Because we spent most of the time down here. You know, the market is time and price, not just price action. And so they had some of the consolidation, some of the time that was spent within the move here. All of our time was spent down low. So that's just a guess of what I think is happening. And I think we get into the 62% retracement and possibly even higher to 786. But we'll already be adding in our short positions at that point. Now, here's the alternate scenario that we're talking about. I think we're in 1-2, but what other traders are talking about, and there's even more bullish traders than this, but I'm at least giving them the benefit of the doubt because we have these historical trend lines that I don't think we're going to get back above. But if we're a little bit more bullish than what I'm talking about, we continue to hold these levels and we get back above 786, then I think we're going to eke out a new high there. That would be our alternate scenario. And then we have somehow a 5-wave move higher, and we just get above the previous all-time highs, and we hit those historical trend lines that we're at now. Okay, so and then I added a few numbers that might be interesting to you. This initial move here was set 10.7%, and I think that's just about the same as what we just had. And then this next move after was a 17.5% move to the downside. So you could suspect that the next move took about the same amount of time, but you had a much larger move after that. Much more clean 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 wave move, okay? And then I think you had a miniature wave 4 and 5 back here to end this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave initial move. And then you see this large correction after that, because we were so oversold at this point. Sentiment was probably crazy. And then you had an A, B, C correction, and then everything fell apart after that. We see how this beautiful bear flag here, that's an ABC. It's a flat pattern. Most wave 2s are just quick retracements where you get a zigzag. In this case, it's probably looks like it looks like a zigzag there after 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zigzag, headed lower, boom, boom, boom. Okay, so that's what I want to show with that. Now let's go to SPX and conclude this video. Let's bring this board out. We have we'll look at sentiment next time. Not much change to that. We're still just really, really bearish. Where's our expected move? So here's our options expected move for the week. I do these manually every week. So these are precise points. We have an expected move of 109 points. And I do think we even exceed that. So wherever we start off the week, maybe we gap down and then rip to the upside. Whatever the case is, we're at least, at minimum, likely to make it up to 57.76 point up above. But if it's bearish and we're wrong, you have the lower end at 5558 down here for the expected move. I don't suspect we make it down there, but it would still be a higher low. I mean, just to be honest with you, it'd still be a higher low. But then I would suspect this is we don't make it to the upper end, and then it takes a lot more time to get to our rising phase there. And I just think time is running out. Okay, we spent a lot of time here. I think we go pretty much direct at this point higher before making a lower high. Okay, so again, this could be all next week. We could have a nice large candle, and then going into the beginning of next week, Monday, Tuesday, have some sort of reversal to follow into April 1st or 2nd, and then we'll see some sort of reversal at that point. Okay, there will be a lot of information that comes out of that. So that's the structure. Our structure here is we're starting primary wave 2. And so we're looking at wave 1 here. We're looking at wave 2. We're in wave 2. Whether this results to the downside and then up, we're in wave 2. Okay, and that's our primary scenario. And then in a more minute level, we have an A. We're working on B. B's are a son of a. They're not fun. Okay, they're hard to trade. So we'll let this resolve. After we break out from the highs here, this will be a true breakout after 5,700. And then we'll be looking for that to start ripping to the upside. Okay, and that would be a C wave. Okay, so that we already have our A. We're looking for B to complete. And then the C wave should be a 5 wave, rip your face off rally, an impulse move before getting our turn to the downside. And remember, this is what we were comparing. Was the top in? Is this an A, B, C for wave 4 and we're looking for wave 5? That's our alternate scenario. Our alternate scenario is that price works its way up here and makes a new high before topping out once again. Okay, so either way, we're getting to these historic levels. I think we're done. I think we might make it up to 6,000. But if we do make it higher, that is what's happening. All right. Thanks for watching here at OptionsTender. Have a wonderful rest of the weekend. Thanks for liking and subscribing and all of the support you've had with this channel. We're growing. We're getting this information out. Have a wonderful day.